bringing together people from academic, policy, business, and civil society, a collaboration that is essential in addressing complex, interconnected challenges of our time. I'd like to encourage everybody in this room to think boldly during your time here, to leverage your unique expertise and perspectives to strengthen democratic practices and advance civil discourse. The work we do has the potential to not only shape academic thought and practice, but also bigger picture societal outcomes. Let us commit together to making a tangible difference in the way we as a society connect to one another.
The groups that our current president attacked during the campaign, regular Americans became much more comfortable denigrating those groups in public after that, and it didn't happen for groups he didn't attack. We look to leaders. The way that we behave in groups is to look to the leaders and look to the other people around us and see what norms are being enforced. Civility is not a law, it's a norm. We enforce norms with social pressure and social reactions and social influence. To the extent that we have leaders who are modeling extremely uncivil behavior, there's no way for us to get our citizens behaving in a civil way.
I think about what is the biggest obstacle to civil discourse is, I think, and the corrupting influence of money. Extreme wealth inequality in the United States has had a more and more corrupting influence, where I fear that they're beyond any sort of individual actor's ability to finding a way to have civil discourse is not going to solve our political problems. And it's important to keep that in mind because it can become discouraging. If we have a better idea of what we're aiming for and what the goal of this engagement, it can prevent us from getting discouraged, from becoming cynical, making collective decisions when we don't agree. That is democracy. I think of civil discourse as sort of an act of democracy. It's articulating the challenge as opposed to being a solution. Keeping in mind that it's really hard. Engaging with people with whom you disagree can make it harder to cooperate. Really listening to people and ideas that you disagree with can actually make cooperation difficult.
The third that I would like to add is fear. Fear-based, often on very real threats. The well-founded perception that they are not safe. When people don't feel safe, when people feel that they're under threat, there is very little space for curiosity. Do I feel safe to say something in public? If I don't feel like my kids are safe, if I don't feel like my rights are secure, I am less curious because I'm in survival mode. I'm doing everything I can to protect myself, to protect family. And so I think a structure in which everything feels precarious, it's much harder to be curious and to behave as a receptive learner.
The type of person that can use the internet to gain our attention and use our anger and fuel and create anger to make us fight each other.
There's fewer face-to-face interactions.
Understanding their political opinions, but not all of who they are. Being able to hear their political views in the context of your sense of them as a human being. People who had been in conversation in person, recalling the person that they had spoken to because they experienced something that they liked about them, that probably wouldn't have come across online, that enables them to remember them. What is that person thinking right now? I liked him. He was smart. He seemed fun. It invoked a curiosity.
Progress happened using disruptive means. No one gives up power. So in order to claim power, groups need to make noise and create some discomfort and make themselves noticed and make their argument heard. And if they don't have a good way to find power within the political system, they're going to use protest, which are also our rights. We have a given right to demonstrate. We have a right to protest. The question is, how is the narrative being created? Is a protest civil? For example, you can ask Democrats and Republicans whether the Black Lives Matter protests were civil. What you'll hear from Republicans is no, they were dangerous. And from Democrats you'll hear, yeah, they were fine, they were fun. The question is, who is being uncivil, defined by whom and for what reason? If the group that has the most political power is the one behaving in a dangerous and uncivil way, that's different than a marginalized group. There are differences in power dynamics. Anytime we define the term civility, think about the differences in power.
How do you have conversations with people whose ideas you don't respect? Civility can be used to exclude or silence voices of disruptive protests. When we suggest that civil discourse implies respect for someone's idea, I think it can actually deter engagement because because we're afraid that our engagement will be interpreted as respect or condoning something. The idea is to keep the conversation going. That's kind of the hope when we have a democratic community where we're taking collective action.
Talking to somebody doesn't mean we've decided that their ideas are sound or even within the range of democratic possibilities. When civil discourse comes a way to ostracize or delegitimize that there are many tools in the democratic toolbox, protest and other forms of interruptive communication continue to be essential. It's important to listen to many different kinds of political conversation. Listening to protests, listening to boycotts. There are many ways to communicate in democracy. A society that has an equitable enough distribution of wealth and opportunity that people feel that their children's future is secure enough to be curious about what other people think. Because feel that they and their children have good lives and good futures.
Cynicism, the belief that people are mostly self-interested. This belief of cynicism is on the rise in the United States. How local interactions inoculate against this cynicism. A team building exercise or a game. I think there are prior beliefs about the selfishness of their fellow citizens. These small-scale local political interactions get muscle memory for engagement.
It would be a news media that doesn't require money, right? The roots of human behavior, we pay attention to conflict because conflict is dangerous. If somebody's just sitting and having a pleasant conversation, you don't like spin your head and figure out what's going on, right? It's not going to hurt you. It might hurt you if people are fighting. We're built to pay attention to this stuff, and we've created these systems of media entertainment, news entertainment that relies on us constantly being shocked and angry and surprised and angered again.
Curiosity often means the willingness to be vulnerable, to admit that you don't know, in an environment in which people experience the world as highly competitive. It's harder to relax and
I think that to respect somebody is to not disagree with them. I think that needs to be changed. Trying to reach consensus is not always a good thing. Reframing how we see disagreement and conflict as part of a healthy community, that would be a norm that could help.
The deepest form of respect is the sense that one is being addressed such that it is worth responding with your full consideration. It's the nod and smile response, normalizing the idea that somebody disagreeing with someone is a gesture that they are worth the effort, they are worth the discomfort. It's all about who is within the circle of moral community.
Remind the intercollegiate